Hello friends, and welcome back to Carolina's Cottage. This is Johnny, and it's a beautiful day here in the fall in the San Antonio, Texas area. We are praying for those of you impacted by recent hurricanes and trust that you and your families and your pets are all doing okay. This week, I have completed 5 thrift flip projects using chalk paint, air dry clay, stamps, and transfers. The first project is a thrifted picture frame that is a little rustic and shabby. I want to keep that look, but I want to add a few cottage roses to this. I will refresh this a bit by adding 1 coat of chalk paint and a different bow. I'm using Chiffon Cream Chalk Paint by Rust-Oleum. The next step is inking and applying IOD stamps. I have edited some of this out, but make sure that when you're stamping your piece, that you're pressing each piece of the stamp against the surface for even coverage. And I'm dry fitting the rose stamp to see what the best placement is for it before I apply the ink. That also helps me decide if I need to put ink on the entire piece of the stamp or if there's just a certain area, as in this case, where I'm applying ink to only a certain part of the stamp. I didn't put ink on the leaf that's hanging off the corner. And when I finish with each stamp, I clean it up with a wet wipe. Now I will be adding a cottage rose that I printed from the Graphics Fairy website for free. It's a little smaller than the frame, so I'll add chalk paint to the edges of the print to help it look like it fits the frame. And now I just have to make a decision on the type of ribbon I will use for the bow, and I have a couple of options here. I'm just making 3 loops on each side of the center, and then I will cut another piece of ribbon and tie it around the center and hot glue that onto the frame. The next makeover is a galvanized cloche that I found on the clearance aisle at Hobby Lobby for just $4.74. It's a great size and a popular item for customers in my space where I sell these handcrafted pieces and makeovers from thrifted items. Galvanized items don't sell for me any longer, but it will sell if I paint it and put a stamp on it and a good price on it. This did take about 2.5 coats of chalk paint. The chalk paint does stick to the metal, but coverage takes a little more than 2 coats, so the last coat was not a complete one, but just touching up a few spots that were showing through from the second coat. I'm using just a small piece of a rose stamp for the center of this cloche. And I'm using the tip of a leaf to fill in some of the space. And project number 3 was a thrifted item from Goodwill. This galvanized wall art will be repainted, and I will use a few IOD transfers and stamps to give it a cottage look. For the transfers I'm going to be using on this piece, I like to be frugal with my transfers, and I also like the look of some of the florals that don't come in individual pieces. So I'll be cutting up some of this larger transfer to get the right look that I have in mind for this little wall hanging. I want these roses to sort of cascade around the lower right corner and the upper left corner of the piece. I did apply a clear coat to the paint, and I allowed it to dry a couple of hours to prevent the paint from pulling up as I'm applying the transfers. These transfer kits do include this burnishing tool, and once your cellophane lifts from the design, you want to make sure that you're looking for edges that may not have adhered completely, and use the cellophane to rub gently over the edges and help those stick to the piece. I am layering these transfers to get the look that I want. I'm also adding a few rosebuds and leaves around the edges. I'll be using a Prima Redesign stamp for some of the text on the middle of this piece. And for the top portion of this piece, I'll be using an IOD stamp. I mix and match these according to what I have in my supply, but you could use whatever you have on hand to mix and match and make your own design. And I have two choices for ribbon for this piece. These are both velvet ribbon, and I just need to figure out which color is going to complement the piece without competing with it. I decided on the ivory colored ribbon, so I will measure for the correct length needed to hang it, place the ribbon through the openings, tie a knot, and it's all finished. My fourth item is a piece that I've actually painted before. It did not sell. I've had it for a while, so I'm just going to use a different stamp on this piece. makeover number 5 has been a makeover on my videos previously, but it looks a little plain, and it's been in my space for a couple of months. It hasn't sold at the price I have it, so typically what that tells me, as I've said before, either there is a color that needs to be changed, or a detail that needs to be changed on the piece, or the price needs to be dropped. So I think what I'll do here, since it's very obvious where I have decoupaged this and the edge is clearly showing, I'm going to use some air dry clay and a mold and frame the print out around the edge and put a fresh coat of chalk paint on this. And I think just that refresh might give it the little bit of extra detail that it needed. So we'll give it another try. And you recall from watching lots of YouTube videos that when you're making these castings from air dry clay, it's always best to dust the mold with a little cornstarch to help that clay release from the mold. In addition to the ornate border that I'm adding to dress this up a bit, I'm also going to add a few cottage roses in each corner. After these clay castings have been on the piece for just a few minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, go ahead and apply a coat of either clear coat or chalk paint, but you want to put something over the clay so that it dries more evenly without the top drying out first, because that will cause cracking or shrinkage. And let's take a look at before and after. If you enjoyed this video today, please give it a thumbs up and make sure that you are subscribed. Thank you for watching today, and I will see you in the next video.